second will do us. Sink the boot in. G'day, I'm Paul. So when it comes to performance SUVs, a lot of people genuinely don't think of Maserati, and I can't blame them. If you look back to the Levante, which is the bigger version of this vehicle in the Maserati range, when that was launched, it's a bit of a weird proposition. They offered it with some hot engines, but then they also offered it with a diesel, and yeah, I just wasn't really a huge fan of it. Now this, on the other hand, the Grecale, this is just completely different in terms of the philosophy and the execution, I reckon. And they've gone down the path of using a platform that is sort of unrelated to that Levante. So talking about the Giorgio platform, this is shared with stuff like the Stelvio and the Giulia. Then they've gone and crammed the engine out of the GranTurismo under this particular spec. So it is a lightning bolt, this thing. You can get this in a 4-cylinder petrol as well, but this one here, the top spec Trofeo, is fitted with that twin turbo petrol V6. So pricing for the top spec is just under 190 grand. So it's a big old chunk of money. If that is too expensive, the entire range of the 4-cylinder kicks off at around the 120k mark. So you do have a few options there to pick from. Being a Maserati, they have gone to town on some of the design highlights that I'll run you through in just a sec. We're going to do a full review on this. It's a detailed review. If you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this video, you can use the time codes that are on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and there's chapters below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel as well. Now let's talk about design. So Trofeo being the top spec, you get the Trofeo badges on the side. It is pretty sinister looking here in black as well. You've got carbon fiber highlights all over this car, and that's part of a sort of optional package. The inside looks incredible as well. You really can do a lot of customization with Maserati stuff. If you look at some of the other performance SUVs in this segment, there isn't a huge amount you can do in terms of customizability. This, on the other hand, you'll see when we get to the interior, it is an incredible looking setup. So big fan of that. Huge open grille here with the Maserati Trident down there. Maserati logo up the top there, and there's that carbon fiber I mentioned earlier. Full LED headlights, and then around to the side with me. Down here, you've got a set of 21-inch alloy wheels, kind of a machined matte finish on the outside there and a graphite on the inside. Really nice looking setup. There's a big old set of brakes there as well with cross-drilled rotors, so hopefully this will actually perform well around the ride and handling track. When we tested the GranTurismo here recently, I was a big fan of that car, but we had a couple of issues with the brakes overheating, or a message saying they were overheating. There was still plenty of pedal feel. So if you do want to watch that review, there is a link in the description below. As the Trofeo badge that I mentioned before, you've got indicator built into the wing mirror with a 360 camera, black roof rails, privacy glass, electronic door strikes for all the doors around the car. So basically you have a little button under there, give it a light push, and then it opens the door, so it's all fully electronic. There is a manual door release in there as well in case your electronics ever fail, so it is a sort of pretty much a foolproof system. On the rear wheels, you'll see a second caliper there for the park brake, and then your main braking system as well, again with cross-drilled rotors, 295 tread on the rear, and it needs it because that is a very meaty engine. Maserati Trident over on the side there, and then come around to the back with me. So Maserati along here, Grecale there, carbon fiber, more of that down there. Look at these exhaust pipes as well, they look unreal. So look, I'm a fan of the design. I actually think it looks pretty sort of menacing. A lot of people don't know what it is, so you're going to surprise them at the traffic lights because it is very fast. So yeah, I think it's a pretty sort of impressive setup. Let me know in the comments section below, have you considered one of these? What has stopped you from buying one? I'm curious to see what you think, and what do you think of the pricing as well? Do you think it is too expensive for this spec? Let me know in the comments section below. So we are inside the Grecale. Here it is, the key. You've got a lock up the top there with a little Maserati Trident. Unlock, boot, button there for the lights, and then the Maserati logo on the back. Really cool key. It's sort of got some weight to it. Metallic, leather clad. It's just a very nice, sharp looking key. Very cool. It's a proximity key, so you can leave that in your pocket, and then you have a start button here on the steering wheel. This interior looks so good. I was saying in our GranTurismo review recently that, you know, say what you will about Maseratis of old that kind of had dreary interiors. This really just steps it up a notch, and it kind of feels like it belongs in the price tag that this is in. You know, when you're paying this kind of money for a car like this genuinely looks sensational. So multicolored, you've got the exposed carbon fiber all over the place. It is just a really nice place to be seated. Love this clock as well. I'll take you through how that changes depending on which mode you want it in a little bit later on. But yeah, beautifully presented interior. Now, in terms of your touch points, all of this stuff is really nice and soft. These touch points here are soft as well on the door and that center console too. How soft are they? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. So if you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality. All feels pretty good. This is what the door slam sounds like. Nice and solid. Now, let's talk about infotainment. You know, I'm a tech guy. This is probably the bit that excites me the most about this interior. So two 12.3-inch displays, one here and one ahead of the driver as well, plus a sub-display here for things like climate control and other vehicle functions. So let's start off up the top here. So color touchscreen, you've got a shortcut menu from the top there as well that can be configured, so you can move things around there if you need to. In addition to that, you have inbuilt satellite navigation, so you can pair your phone and use your phone's navigation, or you can use the inbuilt stuff that sort of comes standard with the car. In addition to that, on the home screen, you've got the ability to configure these widgets as you go. You will notice as I'm flicking through some of this that it is a little bit laggy in terms of how quickly it responds there. I've found when you sort of first hop into the car and it gets fired up and things are happening, it takes a little while to respond to things, but you know, for the most part, it isn't too bad. This beneath its skin is basically a system that's shared with Jeep. So their infotainment systems are typically pretty good. Then over in the performance pages, we'll have a bit of a play with this when we go for a drive, but you've got some quite interesting stuff here. So consumption history, torque management, drag race mode, so we can actually time our 0 to 100 runs if we want. Off-road. I don't think we'll be going off-road anytime today, but if you ever want to, you've got that there. So yeah, a whole bunch of really cool stuff for us to have a play with there, which I think is fun. Now, in terms of smartphone ring, you have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Both of those are wireless. So this is Apple CarPlay. Nice looking setup. And this is what Android Auto looks like. So yeah, full screen integration there. Very good, nice. Now, head of the driver, another 12.3-inch display. There's a bit of configurability there. You can kind of move things around. You can change what features on either side of the screen there. So yeah, I think it's a pretty decent setup and easy to use as well using your steering wheel controls. Now on the audio front, you have a Sonus Faber sound system. Sound system is good. I thought I could do with a bit more treble. That's my non-audio engineering assessment of this. But yeah, outside of that, it's not too bad. It could just be a little sharper and crisper. Now let's talk about safety tech. So being a modern car, autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, auto dimming, rear vision mirror, you've got blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror. You have a lane keeping assistant with radar cruise control, semi-autonomous steering function. We will test that a little bit later on. You've got front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I'll show you what the camera looks like. Yeah, the quality isn't amazing. It sort of looks okay there, but when you're actually going in reverse, it tends to be quite laggy and doesn't really sort of move that quickly. And nighttime, I found the quality to be not very good as well. So I think there's probably a little bit of improving they can do with that. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now let's chat practicality and your connectivity options. So you've got a wireless phone charger down the front here. In this little nook, you've got USB-C, USB-A ports, and then in the center console, you've got a 12-volt outlet. Center console's great, nice and deep, plenty of storage room there. You've got cup holders here. You've got another storage area there as well. It's sort of really quite nicely laid out and well thought out. You've got glove box down here, which is small actually, could be a little bit bigger, and then no sunny storage up the top, unfortunately. Now in terms of your climate controls, I mentioned before, everything is operated on this screen down here. So you've got volume controls. Don't love the fact that there's no knob, but you do have the sort of semi-intuitive audio system behind the steering wheel here that you'll find common amongst sort of Stellantis products. Then your climate controls are down here, so touch screen. You're basically clicking up and down like that to change your temperature, or you can slide as well if you want. Yeah, it works fine. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but it does the job. Heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel as well. And then you've also got your light settings and then seat memory functions in there as well. I mentioned before that you can actually change what's displayed here on your clock. So you can have it appear as a compass. Pedals, that's cool. Okay, so you know, brake, power, that's cool. I like that. And a G meter as well. So I like that you can flick through those. And then you can change the style as well. So you can have a sport clock, sport compass, and a design clock. I reckon that's pretty cool. Alrighty, and then what about your seating and steering? So basically, seats, very comfortable. I've spent a fair bit of time in this car now, and they're very racy looking seats, but very comfortable seats. Maserati Trident up the top there, fully electrically adjustable. So you can go forwards or backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. You lift the front of the seat, back of the seat, you got lumbar adjustment. You can also pull the front of the seat out as well with the seat memory function. Steering offers both tilt and reach adjustment using electric adjustment as well, which I think is pretty good. And then our reach test, what is it like? It's actually not too bad. You can kind of reach everything you need without having to move around too much. Now, second row, what's it like back here? So knee room is great, toe room is excellent, headroom is okay. If you're taller, you're probably going to struggle a little bit there. But heated seats for the outboard seats, you have a third zone of climate control, air vents here, USB-C and A ports, center console here as well with a couple of cup holders. I love that even this is trimmed here. Like a surface you're probably never going to see, but they've sort of just made that red to match the rest of the seating. So the seats as well, they offer a little bit of bolster there, which is good, but you don't want too much bolster because it makes hard to fit baby seats in. So if you're going to use this as a family car, you want sort of about that much bolster. So that is roughly sort of where you want to be. Feels just as nice back here as it does up the front, which I think is, you know, a lot of brands don't bother with the second row all that much, but this actually feels great back here. Now, window test. Does it go all the way down? So it's auto up and down. Oh, look at that, man. Thought of everything. Now, cargo space. Let's have a little look. So you've got a powered tailgate. You have almost 600 litres available just here in the sort of standard trim. Beneath the cargo floor, there is no spare tyre, but under here you have a tyre repair kit. And I love the fact that you can actually do this as well. So this is a battery charger. A lot of people that, if you own an expensive supercar or something, you need to keep it on float, and this has the ability to just plug straight into that, which is cool. What else have we got here? 12 volts off to the side. I'll show you what it looks like with our bags in there. So suitcase in there sort of fits fairly nicely. Pretty reasonably sized boot for a vehicle this size. Now, I don't have the figures for the total space, but I'll show you what it looks like anyway with the seats down. So I'm going to release just there. Yes, you drop those seats, you've got pretty much a flat floor and what appears to be a broken lever there. So we've just hit the road in the Grecale. So we're going to start off in comfort mode and then we'll work our way up to the to some of the faster modes. Now, first things first, comfort. We found out when we drove the GranTurismo that it is a GT. Like, it is a GT by all definitions of that phrase. And that is basically a car that is comfortable to drive and at speed as well. And that's what we found. Like, you could absolutely kick the living daylights out of it and it would go fast, it would feel nice and sort of comfortable. But if you're driving in and around town, it was super comfortable. Now, this is the same story over here. So this uses air suspension in this top spec, and air suspension in a car like this is great. It weighs over 2 tons, but the air suspension allows you to vary what it feels like when you're driving. So in and around the city, it's really nice and soft and comfortable, does speed humps, all the sort of stuff that you wouldn't expect it to be able to comfortably do on 21-inch alloy wheels. But then when the speed picks up, you can vary how firm it is and how high it is so that you can extract a bit more performance out of it. So from that point of view, it really is a GT just like the GranTurismo, but in SUV form. So under the bonnet of this is the thing that excites me the most. 3-litre twin turbocharged petrol V6. And it makes almost 400 kilowatts of power, over 600 newton meters of torque. It is an absolute ripper engine, and it's not quite the output that you have in the GranTurismo, but the fact that you have an engine that's almost the same in an SUV body that you're going to find in what is effectively a supercar, I think is pretty awesome stuff. And it makes the price, as crazy as this sounds, actually quite low, in my opinion. If you're paying well over $400,000 for this engine in the GranTurismo, it's under $200,000 plus on roads here. So yeah, I think it's good value for money from that respect. Now let's talk fuel economy. I've got to be upfront with you. A car like this is going to use a fair bit of fuel. Twin turbo V6, it's not exactly going to be the world's most efficient engine. And yeah, it is using a fair bit here. We're seeing it around that sort of 13 litres per 100k mark. and that's with a good chunk of highway driving as well. So the penalty for all of that performance is fuel use, but to be honest, you're getting over 500 Ks out of a tank. It's not the end of the world, so to speak. Now, what does all that feel like behind the wheel? So here in comfort mode, I'm just going to sink the boot in, just give that a little kick. Yeah, nice. So it's got a really responsive engine. The gearbox is nice and fast as well. Uses an 8-speed automatic, and it's not a dual clutch, thank goodness. So it means that you're getting really nice and smooth gear shifts, especially at low speeds. And it's quite responsive as well, so it's ready to just get up and go when it needs to. So it's a fantastic gearbox. And if you do want to take over shifting on your own, you have these paddle shifters. They're enormous, but metallic, so they're cold to the touch. It's just such a beautiful, classy setup. It's exactly what you would expect a high-end Italian car to look like on the inside. The other cool thing with this platform as well is they've engineered this to be predominantly a sort of rear-wheel drive vehicle. So they send a lot of the torque to the rear, and you can even see here in our torque distribution that it is configured in such a way where you're basically rear-driven at the best of times, and the front axle's only in use for that sort of extra traction. So I'm keen to see what that feels like when the speed picks up. Okay, time for the sine waves. To do this at 130 Ks an hour, just to give us an idea of what body control is like when speed picks up for overtakes in the country. Not that you're going to be driving this in the country, but anyway. So this is in the softest suspension setting at the moment. Yeah, look, here's a little floaty over that. I'll be curious to see what it's like when we dial the speed up in a sport mode, to see how much that affects things. All right, now bumpy road time. We do this at 90 Ks an hour. This is shocker of a road. Something you're never going to drive your Grecale on, but let's see what it feels like anyway. So there's 90 Ks an hour. Yeah, look, in GT it's great. I'll slot it over to comfort. Yeah, in comfort it's even nicer. It's got a sort of firm edge to it, but here's our condensed sine wave. See what this feels like. Yeah, nice. It's falling into all of those divots, which is what you want to see. Very nice. Now, speaking of drive modes, you've got a drive mode selector here, but it also has a suspension button in the middle. So you can actually move between sport and comfort suspension settings, depending on which drive mode you're in. So if I roll this around, you've got comfort, GT, off-road, Corsa, and sport. Let's slot it into Corsa to go for a lap of the track. See what this feels like. God, it is quick. And that exhaust note is so cool. I love that. All right, here's turn one. We'll see what this feels like. Yeah, you can feel the weight. Oh, yes. That is so good. So that rear wheel bias that I was talking about, it teams with a limited slip differential, and when you tip it into a corner and lean on the throttle, it is predominantly sending that torque to the rear, so you're getting that engaging feel behind the wheel. Brakes feel nice and strong as well. So in Corsa, it is in its firmest suspension setting. It's tried to lower the height as well. See what it's like around the back here. Oh, this is unreal. It is moving. And the sound is epic as it shifts through those gears. Right, here's our back straight. See what this feels like. Roll onto this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh nice. That is unreal. Wow. Whew. Look, you think to other SUVs in this segment, and it really is sort of BMWs that I'm sort of talking about here, the sportier SUVs. Let's just dial up a few Ks over the sine wave here in Corsa mode just to see how that feels. Doing 140 should be, yeah, that feels much better. Yeah, BMWs are kind of the benchmark in terms of sporty SUVs. This isn't quite as nimble and agile as a BMW, but it has the playful characteristics. It goes from, you know, quite a comfortable city car that has poke when you need it to this sort of rear-wheel drive-ish animal that actually reminds me of the barking dog man off A Current Affair. If you're not from Australia, this is what it looked like.
And as soon as they saw me, they came bounding over.
So it kind of goes from perfectly normal and kind of just average looking to this maniac of a thing. So this is that car. It is a split personality. It's seriously good. A huge fan of how this drives. That is so much fun. Now, just so you can experience the engine and exhaust note, we'll actually do a lap without me talking, just so you can have a little listen to that. So here it is. Okay, so I've just slotted this back into GT mode. One thing I will mention is when the car starts, it appears to always start in GT mode. When I was on the highway doing 100 k's an hour last night, I found it to be really drony as you sort of lean on the throttle from the exhaust. So there is no exhaust button. They're all linked to those drive modes. So I did find I had to switch it over to comfort to stop that droniness because it was really starting to frustrate me. So probably just something to keep in mind. What about road noise? Look, there is a bit of road noise that comes into the cabin. That is a side effect of quite sporty, low-profile tyres, but it really isn't that bad. It could be much worse. I have driven cars that are much worse than this in terms of road noise. We did put it up against our calibrated sound meter, and this is how it went. If you do want to compare this car to other cars that we've tested before, we'll look at the link in the description below. Let's talk visibility. So I can see clearly down the front of the car there, the wing mirrors, nice and big as well with the blind spot monitors built into them. I do find this B-pillar to be quite large and obtrusive, so when I'm sort of trying to do a head check, you know, you got big mirrors and a blind spot camera, but I always like to have a little look as well for motorcyclists and stuff like that. And it is large. It's not the end of the world, but you do notice it when you do a head check. Now let's test the semi-autonomous driving systems. We do this here on our Bowl at 70 k's an hour. Let's see how that is all going to work. We'll engage and lock that in. 70. All right, so steering wheel has gone green there. We're going to use our 3 outer lanes here to see how that performs. So right now it's really hugging the very left side of that lane, which is not very good. Yeah, it really just wants to default back to that spot. All right, let's see what it's like when we move up to the next lane over. Okay, oh, same thing again. It's like, well, it's crossed over that line, which is not good. Yeah, that's not good at all. It seems like it's just engineered to just hug the left as much as it can instead of actually sitting central within lane. Try our outermost lane. Let's see if it works here. No luck. So yeah, okay, not a great system in my opinion. I think the sort of lane guidance could work much better than that. Okay, it is time to do some performance testing. I've been excited for this. Now, I think this has launch control. I was sort of Googling stuff before, so we'll see how it works. You've got to pop it into Corsa to start with. So I'll let it do that. It's lowering the suspension. Then from what I can tell, and I'll also put this into the performance pages, and I'll go to the drag mode because that also logs time, but we'll also log it using our GPS timing equipment. So I read that you hold this for 2 seconds until it comes up with a message, and then it's good to go. So, let's see. Oh, there we go, launch control. Cool. So, start. Press full brake, apply full throttle. That's cool. Nice. All right, we're going to go through to 120 or thereabouts. Far out. That left in an awful hurry. That was good. Okay, so 0 to 100. How long did that take? 3.98 seconds. So, okay, not too bad. And then 80 to 120, 2.41, which is ballistically quick. That is damn impressive. We'll go back, give that one more crack. I'll stay in it a bit longer and just see if that message changes while it builds boost, but far out. That was quite explosive off the lines. We'll give that one more shot. So press full brake, apply full throttle. To launch, release brake. Oh. It is a really brutal launch. Like it, once it hooks up. Let's see if that was any better. So 0 to 100, 4 seconds. See, I think the problem is, right off the line there, it's creeping ever so slightly, and our timer, I think, is starting just as it creeps, because that felt quicker than the first run, but it recorded as slower. So, yeah, but around 4 seconds is your 0 to 100 if you sort of toy with that a little bit. Let's go back and do a stop from 100 to see what the brake and tyre package is like. Alrighty, here we go. Oh. 100 to 0. Nice, 2.72 seconds, 35.81 meters. That is very, very impressive. Anything between 35 and 40 is good. For an SUV at 35, very nice. Okay, let's see how fast it goes in reverse. Here we go. 28 kilometers an hour. Now, I can already see the comments, everyone asking if ESC is off and it has a limited slip differential, can you kick the rear end out? Good question, and we're going to just double check that. So let's find out. Come into our little turn here. I think second will do us. Sink the boot in. Oh, nice. Oh, nice. It's, yeah, a little bit messy just because I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, very nice. I like this thing a lot. So Maserati Grecale, what do we reckon? People jump up and down sometimes when I say a car is good value for money. Look, it may not be good value for you if you don't, have the funds to afford a $200,000 car. But for people that do, I actually think this car is good value for money from a performance perspective. There is nothing else on the market that gives you the thrills that this thing does. That engine is from like a $500,000 Maserati, and they've crammed it into this SUV for around that 200K mark. If you tick the right sort of options and stuff, that interior looks absolutely stunning. It looks like it belongs in a car that's worth way more than that. It's practical, got plenty of room, and if you do want it as a family car, it'll do that. It is let down by fuel economy, but that is to be expected with the turbocharged V6. But yeah, aside from that, I think this thing is unreal, and it is a surprise package. I was not expecting to like it as much as I do, and it's pretty hard to fault. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Are you as surprised as I am that Maserati is actually a pretty decent brand for stuff like this? A lot of people don't include cars like this on their consideration list. They just go straight to Benz or BMW and stuff. But given how much they've crept up in price, this is actually sort of sitting right in that sweet spot now. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section. Have you bought one of these? What's it like? Is it reliable? Is your sort of second row release thing working? Because ours isn't. Let me know down there. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel. But until next time, take it easy.